anytime you're ready.
Yes. Oh, you're going to. I'm going to just talk.
You're
with
just
you
going
only.
to talk to me and tell me.
Okay, Peggy. Well, I suppose I came to write the book because my college professor brother-in-law bullied me into it. He said, your children need to know about your family history, and they don't know anything. And I can tell you I know that because all they have here is their grandma. She's there every day so they can talk to her. So whatever she knows, well, they can learn from her. But when I start to quiz them about where you two came from, where Narcissa came from, and what happened in Hungary, and where you came from and your background, they don't know a thing.
Yeah.
So you better go and do something about that. So anyway, I pondered his words for a while, and eventually I decided I have to do this. I will get down to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I started out with a history of my wife's family's escape from Hungary at the end of World War II. The Russians chased them out, mainly because her father was in the Hungarian army and certainly something of a hero.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were after his blood, so they left in a hurry and they got to this country. And eventually, Narcissa was able to get herself a college education. She actually starved her way through college and graduated as a chemist and mathematician. I came over from England because I was just never able to settle down properly after I'd lost my wonderful girl as a result of a terrible lie I'd told her before I went on my operational tour in the RAF in World War II. But at any rate, the first book was about my wife, Narcissa, and I getting to this wonderful country and building a business together. The second book goes back to World War II and my service in North Africa, mostly at El Alamein against Erwin Rommel in the 8th Army and supporting the 8th Army in the Royal Air Force. And one of the reasons why I thought the book was important was because nobody had written anything about the air support of the 8th Army, which made the victory possible.
Yeah.
And so what I wrote was not only the first thing that had been really written at length about the Royal Air Force participation and support, but certainly the first of any mention by a participant. And it was because of that that I ended up with a book which was full of factual army and military mayhem that had never been seen the light of day before. And it was that element of it that really made it ideal material for a motion picture.
Yeah. But it was still a love story, too.
But superimposed on that was the story of my first love and how my buddies in the RAF talked me into escaping the marriage that we'd planned. And I ended up telling her a terrible lie that I was simply not available to come home for the wedding that had been so carefully arranged. It was going to be a dual wedding with her sister and her sister's boyfriend. Instead of that, I left all that behind, and for the rest of my service, which was 4.5 years in the Middle East, I pined for her. That all ended up as my personal history of World War II. And it was, I suppose, so compelling that I was easily able to sell the first print run. The test run I made of a couple of thousand copies, I sold them very easily. And it was also the fundamental drama in the book that eventually got me an agent who in turn found a producer for me, so that it's now on its way to becoming a motion picture. The unfortunate thing about it, which I discovered after that, is that They don't want the book the way I've written it anyway. It's a memoir, and they can't handle a memoir. They want a novel, a third-person novel. They can work with that. And so I found myself having to rewrite the entire book as a novel in the third person, and according to the instructions I got, I had to flesh out the chief characters more so than they were. And so I'm now just in the process of completing that, and together with a writing partner, an expert in this field, we're now just finishing off the editing of that, ready to go and get it launched as a motion picture. And fortunately, my writing partner has worked with movie studios before, has actually been part of that procedure, and so she is quite sure she's going to be able to get an option on it.
Excellent. Fantastic. We will all look forward to seeing it, but better yet, we will all read it.
Yes,
Thank
well,
you.
talking of reading it and seeing it, it so happens that this magnificent motion picture, The King's Speech, is an ideal example of a movie to follow, because where that movie ends, mine begins.
Fantastic.
The movie, as you will recall, The King's Speech ends with Neville Chamberlain's speech over the radio, that dramatic speech on the 3rd of September 1939, when he told the nation he was sorry to say that our nation was at war with Germany. That is the point at where my book, Love and Sand, starts.
Thank you very much, Howard. This interview has been wonderful.